Hi, my name is Elise Gruber and I'm completing a video for the NASA R2R Engineering Design Challenges badge. This is the key component on becoming experts with NASA rockets to race cars activities engineering design challenges video. As a teacher of teachers, my lesson will be different than other people's in that my goal will be to show them the value of using the engineering model. One of the things that I often do with students in the unit on learning styles is to have them take a learning styles inventory test. So that's one of the things that I would start this lesson with, a learning styles inventory test, and that reveals if they're kinesthetic, auditory, or visual learners. Most people are a combination of them. So we'll discuss the results. They're often very excited about the results that they get, and discuss the different kinds of activities that can be used. And then we will use this particular lesson as a way of demonstrating to them the different kinds of ways that lessons can be presented. For example, I could use Newton's third law to design a solution to problem solving in working with colliding objects. So in doing so, I can simulate three different methods of learning. One would be to present a short lecture without any visuals on the subject, and I would make that, maybe a 5-minute just a lecture. I don't enjoy lecturing, but and the students know that, but we could have a lesson on that subject. Then I could also have some kind of scoring and maybe a pre-test and a post-test showing how much they've gained in terms of their knowledge. Then I could do a visual in which I could use some videos and perhaps integrate the lesson, but with using the board, using maybe some other kind of design tools to visually show the students the same kind of lesson, and again do the same kinds of things. Now that would probably take a little bit longer, 10 minutes. And then the third way would be to use the engineering design method, and through that the students would actually go through the activity, and again we could use the same kind of format. So in doing this, I would see, I'm sure, that the students would benefit more from the kinesthetic method. But just as with any pros, there's also some negatives. We could then discuss how long. Obviously, the lecture would only take 5 minutes. The auditory would take 10, whereas actually going through the different stages would probably take 20 minutes. In order to fulfill the components of your particular requirements, I want to make sure I go through all of the steps. First of all, I would need to make sure I engaged the students by showing them a video, probably using some of the Mission in Mars, Mars in a Minute videos, and that would obviously set the stage for the topic. Then I would have the students move through the next stage of the ease, which is to extend, explain, having the students actually design probably using like I would do, if I'm doing Newton's third law, I would probably do the landing pod design, and have the students actually work in teams to build their design for this, giving them certain materials. And the materials I would use would be the hard-boiled egg, cardboard, probably 2 sheets of cardboard, flexi straws, large rubber bands, 4 or 5 inch round balloons, and 12 inches of masking tape, scissors, pens, etc. So in doing that, we could also show the students about cooperative learning. We could incorporate questions about how you do cooperative learning. These are beginning teachers, so we'd want to stress to them the different roles that students need to take and what those responsibilities might be. For example, making sure that there's a timekeeper in the group, making sure that there's a materials manager, making sure that there is perhaps a designer, and then a presenter, because I always stress with students the importance of making the students present, and of course have them present as well. So we've already gone through the step in where the students are introduced to the subject. They are then going to move through the exploring. They've been engaged. They're going to move through exploring. When they do the exploring, I want to make sure that they have a certain amount of time, 5-10 minutes, to do the design without having the materials. Then, of course, they have the 20 minutes to go ahead and do their design. Then the all-important step of explaining. And in explaining, the students would be presenting their particular design, the pros, the cons, why it was successful, why it wasn't successful. And then, of course, we can test the landing pods, see which ones were more successful, and then go back to, all right, how does this relate to Newton's third law? How does this relate to learning styles and what we've been talking about with the kinesthetic, the auditory, the visual? What were the pros and the cons of using this kind of method? And then in the evaluation, how successful is this strategy in response to different learning styles? And perhaps I would hope that students would come to the conclusion that good teaching incorporates all three styles, that we need to guide our lessons insofar as there are visual components, there are auditory components, and there are kinesthetic. And of course, the one that tends to be the one that takes the longest, takes the most work, effort, the longest amount of time, and therefore is often neglected by educators, is the kinesthetic. And in this case, I think that the 5 E's that used by NASA are very effective in using the kinesthetic method. So that is how I would use the NASA rockets to race car activities in my classroom. Thank you.